Hey everyone, Mr. Jackson here from Organized Biology. Today we are going to do crash course genetics and inheritance, okay? So this is going to explore how we get our traits from our parents. And in order to do that, we need to understand a few things about how we get information from our parents. So first off, in every single one of your cells of your body, you have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So in other words, you have 46. You got 23 from your mom, your biological mom, and you got 23 from your biological dad. Totals up to 46. I want you to think of chromosomes as books. Very, very similar books that you get from both of your parents, okay? And you put them together in pairs. So they're these big, long bits of information stored in DNA. Okay, so the DNA is basically the instruction manual for your cells on how to build proteins and how to show your traits. And so if you have a bunch of books telling your body how to make things, we have to organize those books into chapters. These chapters are going to be called genes. So they're little segments of each book, each chromosome, okay, just a long strand of DNA, that'll basically contain a certain trait on different chromosomes. Okay, so think about it. You get 23 pairs of chromosomes. Those are all different books. They're all going to have different chapters, which code for different traits. Okay, so we're going to explore one trait, hypothetically, for me and my wife. Okay, we're only going to look at chromosome 1 to make this simple. So remember, you'd have like 23 pairs of chromosomes. We're just looking at the first pair between chromosome 1 from myself and also from my wife. So first off, in my cells, I have 2 chromosome 1s. Okay, I got 1 chromosome from my dad and the other one from my mom. They're both chromosome number 1. Okay, so for me, I'm going to say that there is a gene in this little section, so this chapter of my big book, my big chromosome, that deals with eye color. Okay, so on all of these chromosome 1s, including for my wife, eye color is going to be found in that little section, that little chapter, okay? Hypothetically, we're going to have 2 different possibilities, okay? We're going to have the possibility that you can have brown eyes and the possibility that you have blue eyes. You may have talked about dominant versus recessive, so the brown eye allele, so a version of that chapter, a version of that trait of the gene, is going to be brown. So if it is dominant, if there's a big B, you are going to have brown eyes. If there's a little b, it's a possibility that you'd have blue eyes. So let's walk through this real quick. Let's say that from my dad, I received a little b. Okay, that codes for blue. However, I got a big B chapter from my mom. What happens is that big B is going to mask the recessive. So the dominant is going to mask the recessive. And I, therefore, have these kind of brownish green eyes. We're just going to say I have brown eyes for the sake of this argument, okay? So my genotype would be big B from chromosome 1 from my mom, little b, chromosome 1 from my dad, okay? And I would have brown eyes, okay? Let's walk over to my wife. Let's say from her dad, she received a little b. And from her mom, she also received a little b. So her genotype would be little b, and she would have blue eyes. Okay, so her chapters both code for blue eyes, whereas one of my chapters code for brown, one for blue. Since this one's dominant, it's going to dominate that recessive, and I'm going to have brown eyes. Okay, that makes sense. So what if we wanted to have a child? Well, we can predict what color eyes our children will have just based on this knowledge. So, during meiosis, when you are producing sperm and egg, which will eventually come together to form a zygote, so a newly formed life baby that's going to develop, what happens is meiosis. So what's going to happen is these 2 suckers are going to get split up. So in one sperm, I'm going to get this chromosome, and in one sperm, I'm going to get this chromosome. Now, this is a very simplified process, but bear with me. So let's say in sperm 1, I got most of my mom's chromosome 1, but in my second sperm, I got most of my dad's chromosome 1. Okay? So, in other words, we can say that on this chromosome from sperm 1, we have a big B from my mom. Sorry, I screwed that up. I said that this was my mom and dad, but anyway, got big B from my mom, we'll say, okay? So this sperm 1 will have a big B that came from my mom. Whereas from my dad, sperm 2, I've got a little b. So I can pass on either a big B coding for brown eyes or a little b coding for blue eyes. Let's see what my wife will have. Well, in her egg, we only really have one option, right? We're going to have from her dad, maybe it goes to egg 1, but that is still going to be a little b. Okay, and I'll color this black just to keep it all the same. Egg 2, if she gets it from her mom, well, guess what? It's still going to be a little b, right? So the only thing she can pass on is a little b in both cases, whereas for me, I can pass on either a big B or a little b. This is where Punnett squares come involved. So in a Punnett square, you're basically dividing up your genotype, and for my example, my wife's phenotype, and we're going to predict what our children's outcome will be. So let's say I will be here, my wife will be here. What are the opportunities for me to pass on? Okay, I can pass on a big B or a little b. So the way I show that is big B here, little b here. For my wife, she can either pass on little b or little b. So on both of her sides, it'll be little b. You cross them, and you will get the following. Big B, big B, little b, sorry for both of these. Oh, whoops, screwed that up. It'll be big B, little b, little b as you cross them. Big B, little b here, and then little b again. So 2 out of the 4 times, our children will have big B, little b genotypes. That means 50% of the time, they will have brown eyes. However, the other 50% of the time, it'll be little b, which means that children will have blue eyes. So that's the basis of genetics. We get our books from our parents, which contain a lot of different chapters, genes, okay, and these genes can be passed on. After meiosis, basically split them up. You have one of 2 opportunities from both mom and dad, and then you combine them together, and that's what forms your Punnett square. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please drop comments below. Remember to like and subscribe.